Kids, we are on the road to WrestleMania. We have just one PLE, PPV, whatever you want to call it, away from the biggest show of the year. Ringside Seat Episode 10, Brian Atard, Lou Bertasia, and new to the show, but if you watch the Sports Box, you've seen this, my Jets friend. I mean, I feel for, you know, it's all love, Joe. Joe Rickson on the show tonight. Welcome back into the saddle.
Pleasure to be here, as always. Long time, first time.
Yeah, now listen, we're going to talk about things unlike Jets football being bad that are not predetermined.
Correct.
You know,
a lot of integrity sticking with the Jets after all these years, I must say.
Yeah.
But it speaks to Joe Rickson.
Look at me, all my integrity. What a guy I am.
Well, I mean, look, you definitely have the intensity. I mean, I don't know about the intelligence, given that you're a Jets fan, but I don't Episode 10 of the rebirth of Ringside Seat, which has been a lot more fun. I apologize that Brian Dunn is not here this evening. He's been crazy with work. Ant's been crazy with work. And special congratulations to our boy, Mike Consalvi, who is officially a new dad.
Welcome to the club.
Alexander Consalvi came in at 7.2 pounds.
Beautiful.
He's about ready. He might win. He might be in next year's Royal Rumble. He's about 10 years away from being old enough to win a tag team championship, apparently, says WWE. So, I mean, we're there. Lot going on there. Before we get into the meat of tonight's show, kind of looking forward, I just want to take a second here to look back. You know, we got together before the Royal Rumble. We made our predictions, none of which were correct, clearly, because I don't think anybody saw the outcome that we saw.
I was closest.
So, I'll give it
with John Cena. I was closest.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, if we're playing Price is Right rules, you definitely
closest without going over.
You definitely got through. We've had some time to digest this. We've kind of seen the road from Rumble to Chamber to now. Was it the right call for Jay to win?
I was really mixed about it. Like
I think so at this point. Like,
yeah, no, go ahead, Lou.
Go ahead, Joe.
No, I insist. You go.
Well, I think at this point, like we've literally talked ourselves into Jay Uso being the correct winner. Because there's no way to like think about it otherwise at this point. I still would have liked to have seen John Cena win just for the nostalgia factor and the moment of him winning that Royal Rumble. But I mean, you know, the way things are going now with The Rock coming back and everything that we have moving forward with Roman and Seth and Punk, whatever, you know, it's like at this point, Jay was just give it to him if you're going to do something with him and Gunther. That was the best way to that, because then you're not going to have him win the Chamber to get to Gunther. So might as well give him the Rumble at this point. I mean, but I wanted to also say, as far as I'm concerned, I want to forget this year's Royal Rumble. I want to delete it from my mind since I had that atrocious Tozawa / speed entry. Okay. As far as I'm concerned, this Rumble is dead to me. Okay. When Tozawa came out and they're like, oh, somebody else, I'm thinking somebody. And they show speed. I was like, I literally threw my hands up in disgust. This Rumble is dead to me.
Joe, Lou had 8 in the pool. So
no, that's not a good number. I don't think.
No, it was not.
It
wasn't good. It wasn't good to begin with, but
no. I mean, I think I felt that's why I didn't think Cena was going to win, because I felt like they had to set up somebody else, because we know that Cena's probably not. Well, it just didn't. To me, the storyline didn't really work. So I did like Jay as the choice. I just feel like at this point, he's gotten a big enough push, especially from the fans over the last few months, that it made sense to give it to him. I generally enjoyed the Rumble. I'm such a dark. I love Logan Paul. Like I love him. I know there's people that hate him. Like I love the fact that he's not afraid to push his stupid prime workout drink. Like I don't care. Like I love it. Like that's just part of the allure, the jumping the table and then asking for the prime. Like I loved it. Like I know that I went on Twitter right after, people were just like, oh, this is stupid. I think it's great. I enjoy it whenever he's in. I did like that Cena was last up. I am sort of tired of I didn't like it when Cena jumped in the ring and like sort of gave his ode to Jay. Like I just think that's like, look at me one more time. I'm just over that at this point. Like just walk away. And I'm not saying there was anything malicious about that, or just for me, and Lou knows this from watching shows with me. You don't get guaranteed reverence from me just because you've been around for a long time. Like every time you come in, you got to bring something new. I mean, Lou's watched me boo Taker, for goodness sakes, when I didn't think matches were good at big time pay-per-views. Like, you don't automatically get that from me. So would have just like to see him walk off the sunset. I do like the fact that he's so sort of self-conscious about his receding hairline. If you guys notice, he's like constantly pulling his hair back to cover the bald spot. I love that though. Vulnerable. But no, I thought the Rumble in general was good. I didn't know who it was going to be, but I figured Jay would probably be like a top 3 guy for me coming out of that. And I generally enjoyed it. And like I said, anytime Logan Paul shows up, I'm usually all about it. Like I said, I know the wrestling purists aren't fans, but I don't really care what they think. I think it's fun.
So, I mean, obviously it's revisionist, right? So like you realize why you were wrong. And then you talk yourself into, okay, well, here's why this makes sense, because we're at this point anyway. So I need to make sense. Right. So I think I know Lou's having a bit of tech issues, but he'll be back. I think going with Jay made sense in that it kept Cody's title in play for Chamber, right? Because no matter what they tell you, no matter how they want it to be, to generally speaking, the World Heavyweight Championship is an under title to the WWE Championship, right? And I don't know if I can't honestly remember well enough back in the post WCW days if they were on par with each other, if one was above the other. It was always this kind of like weird, like they're both world championships. And I know they're trying to get back to that clearly, which is why my play the whole time has been this idea that if Cena wins 17 on that title, it validates that title and puts it on par where it needs to be. Don't know if they're going to go that route, at least not right now. It doesn't seem that way, obviously, right? Because we have this Jay and Gunther match. But if you were going to go to Gunther's title, Jay was the obvious one, because really nobody else on Raw has been really talking about that, right? Punk's been dealing with Seth and dealing with Drew, which plays itself into the other Chamber match. Like it's shocking only because you don't think they're going to do that, because in your mind you've convinced yourself that it's one of these 4 people. But then, like, okay, I could see that. Like, I could have seen Logan Paul make sense if Logan Paul was going to go after Gunther's title. Then you go heel versus heel, doesn't really work, right? So you need a face. And honestly, is Jay not the hottest he's ever going to be right now? Like this, and I don't dislike Jey Uso at all, right? I have nothing against Jey Uso. I mean, my son was doing this in the car, like, it's fine. But it just feels like we're at a crescendo. Like, if you're going to put the strap on the guy, you kind of got to do it now, which I think is what we're leaning towards. Because after that, it just feels like, how long will this continue? I'm not a huge fan of his promo. I mean, it's fine, but like, it's like the new what? Right? Like, it's like the next iteration. In retrospect, I have no issue with it, only because I think Cena might have been too predictable given the way we are, which may lead to my answer, what's happening in the Chamber, which we'll get to. I talk myself into why it makes sense, and I think that it does because of what you're doing. Now, again, now you leave your intrigue on your main title in place, not make Chamber an afterthought to your secondary title, because no matter what you think, doesn't matter what you think, that's how people perceive it.
Yeah, and I think looking back from a writing standpoint, this keeps Chamber. I mean, the goal is to keep the momentum going to Mania, right? And I think if you do other things differently, you're sort of setting up Chamber to not be as dramatic, right? So in the long run, this makes sense. I think it was the right string to pull. And like you said, when is he ever going to be hotter than he is right now? Like, it's one of the things where, like, you have to. It's like stocks, right? You gotta sell when you're peak, and if this is the opportunity to do it, this is when you got to do it. You don't want to risk dragging this out for another 6 months and hoping that he carries. Because, to be honest with you, I don't think he's strong enough to do that. Like, I know that's not, like, I know he's the popular taker and everybody's so happy, but like, there's a lot of guys that have gotten that push sort of from the crowd, and they've been hot, and then they sort of overextend their welcome a little bit. I feel like he's sort of in that camp where I don't really trust him to carry this momentum for another 6 months.
You see it like Kofi Kingston 2.0?
That's exactly it. That's exactly what I was thinking. It's like, are we gonna be able to keep this going? And the fans aren't always right. I know that sounds like mean to say, but sometimes we're not. Like so that's exactly what I was going to compare it to is the Kofi situation, and I'm happy for him. I think it's a great decision to make right now. Like I said, I don't think that's probably what Triple H and company are thinking. This is when you got to sell.
I read online somewhere that they were thinking of giving him a squash match at Mania to have Gunther just completely destroy him and then have him build his way back up. But I'm like, you just did that with Cody. And you know, Jey Uso, like you said, I was already kind of sick of him as it was. But I've given him a pass like okay, you won the Rumble, you're cool. But you know, he's got to win it now. You're right. If he loses now, it's over.
Yeah, I think his momentum dies completely, right? And again, you Gunther losing the title doesn't really change anything. I mean, you could have them continue back and forth between now and SummerSlam if you really needed to.
And a lot of it depends on how you lose the title too. Like if Gunther loses the title in a close match, like you can keep that going. Why not just put this show back on again, right? Or if there's some sort of, even if it's like interference from another face, right? Like you give Gunther some. Oh, well, I didn't really get a fair shot, or you can do it. You can play this a million different ways, and in the creative's head, that may be like, hey, that's another sort of storyline we can just keep extending. It's one less thing we have to worry about heading into SummerSlam.
I also think they did a decent job in the men's Rumble of kind of leading into a future story, right? So a lot of talk's been, and we'll get to all this, right? But and I know Lou's having some problem. He's texting me. I know that the whole idea of Punk and Seth and Roman, and then I thought actually it was brilliant to have Roman have an injury. Because obviously, if Roman's healthy, he's got to be in the chamber match. And unless he's winning the chamber match, he then have to be eliminated, which gives him a pin, which is like you can't do that.
Yeah.
So amazingly, it worked. Right.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's going to be a match at WrestleMania. That's the discussion. I think it remains to be seen, which we'll talk about Rock here in a minute. I think all in when you think back to it, people said, "Oh, Charlotte she's done this, she's done this, she's done this." Okay, it's going to be her and Tiffany, obviously, at WrestleMania. So we thought that Charlotte was a potential winner coming into the Rumble because she would be able to put Tiffany over and really elevate Tiffany to a new level by beating Charlotte. I don't think this is about Charlotte winning the championship as much as it is about really solidifying Tiffany, who has had a rocket on her back since she's made the main roster.
For sure. And I also think Charlotte gets a lot of hate from people, but she still is one of the strongest in the women's division. I mean, she's already an icon. I'm a big fan of her, right? She's just physically daunting. She looks like she belongs in the ring, right? Like I think she's just better than most of the other wrestlers. So like having her in there makes total sense. And like I said, I feel like she still has the superstar status enough to win. Because here's the other thing people forget about. It's like one thing that always annoyed me about like the fact that like Braun Strowman never really won anything is like it doesn't make sense he's not winning anything. He's like 6'9", 300 pounds. Like he should be winning everything. And so like the reason why I always love when Charlotte does get this is because it looks like it makes sense, right? She's smarter. She's been around longer. She's stronger, right? Like I'm always surprised people are like, oh, I'm just tired of seeing Charlotte. Well, then somebody's got to show up and be better than her. Like I don't think they'd push her if they didn't feel like she wasn't the best person to do what needs to be done over the next few months, right? I don't always understand the Charlotte hate. I mean, I get it to a certain degree, but I think she's one of the best women's wrestlers ever.
Yeah, well, she's won the title 14 times, right? And she's only 38. So I think the problem they run into is how many times can she be champion, right? Because if you're going to eventually have her break Daddy's record, which is fine, go ahead. You've kind of already played hot potato with her. Like there was a period of time where the Raw and SmackDown women's titles were changing hands consistently. Where like, again, like you start giving check marks to so many people. It's like, well, how many times are you going to lose this title? Right. And Ant is always said, I don't like the 16-time world champion. It means you lost it 15 times. I'm like, I get it. It's pro wrestling. But Charlotte has felt forced at times. But I think right now, I feel like this is literally just, we got to make Tiffany. And this is going to make Tiffany. I think it's that simple.
Lou, and here's the other thing. You can extend your career a long time if you are the person who's willing to put other people over.
So far.
Absolutely.
Like, I think you look at guys like Randy Orton who have embraced this role of like, hey, we need to put over the next guy. I'll be that dude. I mean, it extends it's like the DH in baseball, right? It can extend your career if you are willing to do it. And I think she knows she's going to break Daddy's record. And sometimes this is a business. You got to play the game. Like, I think she gets that better than anybody. And like I said, she's, Stratton's so, she's like a rocket ship, right? Like you said, she's just, it's been a long time, I think, since you've seen anybody be this sort of in this position in the women's division. It's been a lot of fun to watch. And so, yeah, if she's got to put her over, she's got to put her over. That's, like I said, that's the business. And once again, if Charlotte loses and puts Tiffany over even more, then like, that's not a knock on Charlotte. It's like she lost to another strong women's title holder. So it doesn't really hurt Charlotte in any way. It's not like she lost to a nobody. Sure. So I think the storyline makes sense as it's sort of being drawn up right now. And once Charlotte came out when she did, I was like, that's it. Like that. This is who's going to win.
So my, hold on, I got to see if I can get this up. So while I get this, Lou, go ahead. I know you had some tech issues. Hopefully you're okay now.
Some tech issues. I hope they're resolved now. But I think that Charlotte, I've been on record as saying she's the greatest of all time as of today. So I don't think a loss would mean much to her anyway. So like you were saying, I think they really want to make Tiffy, especially now, like they've been, they're partnering her with Trish now. And they're trying to make her look as strong as possible. And how strong can you look other than defeating who is the de facto greatest of all time right now? So for sure, I think Charlotte is like, with that knee brace coming out, she knows she's at the end. So she's definitely in elevating the next generation mode. And even like all the horsewomen, you see Bayley too going to NXT. Becky Lynch doesn't even know when she's coming out. Mercedes doing the indie stuff in AEW. So like it's just definitely, it's the new era, and it's time for, Charlotte is definitely building Tiffy up for sure.
So I'm trying very hard to get this video. I apparently have to convert it to an MOV. It's not going to work, but my son had Charlotte in the pool. I got him doing the woo when she won. So I was trying to get that video. Apparently it's not going to work. That's awesome. Okay. It is what it is. To Charlotte's credit, I mean, again, sometimes in this business, it's who have you made, right? Like that's people that don't really understand the ins and the outs. Like when you make someone, like that's a feather in your cap. We have people fighting over, a dollar store necklace of chili peppers. We have people fighting over, a wrist thing. Like it's whatever you make it, right? Like it holds the value that you give it.
Yeah. So, I think fans respect that too. Like as fans of the sport, I respect wrestlers that put other people over. Because there's been wrestlers throughout history that have not done that. They made it very clear they won't do that. They're not going to. And like they could have some of the best matches ever. And part of me is like, oh, what did they contribute to the next generation? Like, how did they help? And so, like I said, the more that happens, the more I sort of gain respect for those people. Because like you said, Lou, it's about you got to know when your time is up and when it's time for you to build somebody else.
Yeah.
And that's hard. I mean, this is an ego-driven business for sure. So I understand that's probably harder than many people think it is. But as a fan of the sport, I respect the wrestlers that are able and willing to do that, because you put your body on the line knowing that ultimately someone else can get the benefit of that. But the older I get, the more I sort of respect the wrestlers that are willing to sort of sacrifice that.
I think Charlotte has a unique perspective too, because like she's been injured for an extended amount of time, multiple times now, and she's sitting front row to see Ric Flair having his last match, how atrocious he looked, and then even talking about doing another match. I think she's like, she can see that, and it's like, yeah, I don't really want to get there to where like I'm so old, I'm so entrenched. So I think she's probably on her way out as it is. So I don't foresee her having a hard time, putting the next generation over. I don't see it.
Now, Lou, real quick, just for the fans, how are you handling the divorce?
It's been tough, but we press forward.
All right, just for those who don't, I think I've never seen Lou and Andrade in the same spot at the same time. So to me, like, I just assume that he's Andrade because they look like spitting image. You know,
I wish I looked like Andrade. That dude is friggin' cut, man. He's a monster.
Listen, I'm from here to here. Like the resemblance is uncanny.
All of us though outlasted them though. I think all of us have been married for longer than they were. So kudos to us. Let's give ourselves a pat on the back for making it more than 3 years.
Is that like the basic terms? Right? You guys, you should see it on. All I'm doing on this screen, I'm just trying to convert this stupid video, and it's taking me through Adobe, and I gotta log in. And this should really not be this difficult.
No worries.
Well, since we're waiting on that, speaking of women's division, I have to give a special plug to Timeless Tony Storm. AEW's not doing hardly anything right, but that Timeless Tony Storm, listen, she is literally the best thing going in all of women's wrestling. That character, her work, she's hilarious. She can go in the ring. They got to do whatever they can to keep that woman going as high as possible.
I second that. I can second that. Speaking of video, by the way, if you guys watched the McMahon documentary, I discovered this about a month ago. I've not told you this, Lou, but James Minnock and I got a cameo in the McMahon documentary. We are at Raw 25 at Barclays, the worst Raw celebration of all time. By far. It's the worst show on the history of the planet. And the camera pans around when Stone Cold comes out, and you see James Minnock's bald head, light shining. And you can see the top part of my head. We are in the documentary with 3 minutes left.
That is cool.
So I have to go look for it now.
Yeah,
I think I got it. Woo! Yeah, that's my little bull. He won the women's Rumble pool. He's pretty happy about that.
You should add that as like part of the show. If somebody makes a good point, you just like push a button and that comes up. That's like the like a sound effect part of the show.
You know what?
Yeah,
Joe, that's a great point. Woo! Look at that. I got it going already. This is another event. There's only 4 matches scheduled, right? And I think we talked about it pre-Rumble where, like, clearly these were going to be long Rumble matches, right? It wasn't one of these every 30 seconds someone's coming out because, like, you had to fill 3 hours. And it went for almost 4, right? So the fact is there's only 4 matches with this and a segment we're going to talk about here in a second with Cody and Rock. What are your thoughts on this, right? Because, like, we've spoken, I know Ant is very passionate about this. He feels like that like, at times they've tried to just, like, throw everybody onto the card, right? Like, I went to WrestleMania 35. It did not get done till 1:15, right? That was a long day. And if I'm yawning and half falling asleep in the main event, like, that's a problem. So call it what it is. It's a pandemic result that now these things go to 2 nights. Great. That's one of probably the great things that came out of it was now there's 2 shows. I'll be probably going to SummerSlam, obviously. What are your thoughts on having, I don't want to use the word, like, it's a light card, but the pro AEW people's like, oh, you only had 4 matches and like 4.5 hours of commercials and nonsense. I'm like, well, you don't fantasy book.
Unlike AEW, I know all these wrestlers. I know who they are. I don't feel like you're just throwing stuff onto a card, and I'm like, who's this guy? And some dork's like, oh, he's big in the indie circuit. And I'm like, I don't want any of that. Like, I filter nothing. And like, for example, I'm a big MMA guy too. Like, some of these nights they go on forever, and like, I'm 38. I have a kid. I don't have the stamina to, like you said, like 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm yawning. Like, I'm like ready for this to be over. You're outlasting the late shows. Like,
UFC is killing me having their main event walkouts at 12:45. It's killing me.
It's brutal, and so I don't mind it. It's also, it makes the sport easier to follow because they don't have to set up 7 different 8, 9 different matches. I just have to know the meat and potatoes of these 4 matches. And as someone, like you said, working dad, married, I have to spend time with my wife, right? Like, all of these things, like, it's just less I have to pay attention to and follow. And when there's too much, it's harder for it. I'm less inclined to enjoy it because I feel like I'm out of the loop. Whereas, like, the way it's set up now with my limited time, I know all these storylines. Like, I'm ready to go. And it gets over on time, and then they can do all the other things they want to do. Like, I'm much more inclined to watch the post-fight show, like the post-event show, and like, you know, I'm more inclined to be and stay engaged if it's not ending at 1 a.m.
Sure.
But I think they found a way to, even the matches that don't mean that much. I think when you have, like Tim said, quality over quantity, you're actually putting over that match by giving it time, right? Like the tag team match that went on at Royal Rumble was clearly the piss break match, but it was fine, right? Like nobody was upset about it. Like they did it fine. So in having Tiffany which we'll get to the matchup, but having Tiffany and Trish come together, obviously it gives Trish something to do. It keeps the title on Tiffany, who's not going to wrestle for a championship at this event. It's there. You show her. It's fine, right? This grudge match with KO and Zayn, that's going to be a great match. We know this. And the talk was, why isn't it WrestleMania? I don't know, because they're both from Canada. Hello. Don't overthink this. But it's true. Like the arguments I always hear, that I always argue with as you know, I really enjoy arguing with people on social media. It is fun, and I make them very upset, and it's great. I there's nothing better. I don't care.
Hashtag troglodytes.
Oh my god, it's just like, and then they come at me and try to insult me. Like I give a shit. Like you can say nothing's gonna bother me, right? Like it just doesn't. Like, I'm not built that way. I couldn't care less. That means I'm winning when you're coming back at me like that. So like, oh, you know, the AEW shows have like 17 matches and they have this, that, and the third. And I'm like, yeah, but what are they for? It's like, oh, but it's the. I'm like, listen to me. When we had this discussion 2 months ago, when you fantasy book, you're not fantasy booking, okay, grapple into an arm drag, off the ropes, elbow. Like that's not fantasy booking. Okay. That's how you get through a story. The fantasy book is how you get to your build up, to your crescendo, to your finish, to your ending of the whatever. It's what's happening, right? Like nobody cares about two guys doing this in the middle of a ring unless there's something behind it. There's whatever the stories are, right? But WWE, since Triple H took over, honestly, they've kept things very, very fresh. Like you can honestly, and we're going to do this in a couple minutes, you can make the case for everybody in this match to win these chamber matches. Like there's a rational reason for everyone. That's not always the case. Normally it's like 2 people and 4 guys that you threw in because you got to have 6. So the quantity over quality, and I'm going to put that comment back up, that's so true, is they're selling out baseball stadiums on 4 matches.
Mm-hmm. But they also too, they've run into the, it's not a good fortune because it's every year, but the Rumble and the Chamber specifically are 2 events that you can do the 4 matches because the 2 Rumbles are going to be 2 hours right there. And then the 2 6-man elimination matches are going to be 45 minutes apiece. So you're already at half the show in 2 matches. So, you know, it'll be interesting moving forward to see if they can, like the backlash after WrestleMania, if they keep that at 4 matches, to see how that would flow. Because now at that point, you know, now we're on this road to WrestleMania. But at some point, you're gonna have to defend these titles. You're gonna start having to put Shinsuke and Braun Breaker and the women's tag team, and you just introduced 2 women's undercard championships. At some point, those have to start being defended on the pay-per-views too. So it's like right now, it's just like you're getting away with it because of the type of matches the 2 last events were. But I mean, I like it too. I don't have a problem with 4 or 5 matches on a card because WrestleMania 35 was ridiculously long. I never want to experience something like that again if I don't have to, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I'm going back here, right? So War Games had 5 matches. 2 of them were obviously the War Games matches. Crown Jewel 2024, 6 matches. King and Halloween. Well, see, the problem is that they mix in the NXT stuff, and you really can't. Bad Blood had 5 matches. Bash in Berlin had 5 matches. SummerSlam 24 had 7 matches, and that's Big 4 event.
Right.
So, like, they're not just putting the card they're not just throwing the card together and get everybody on. King of the Ring had 5 matches.
And I'm just like, you know, I just remember going to pay-per-views and like I just knew my time to go pee was whenever I heard the Ryback song kick in. And like and then like and you're like I would rather just get out of here 30 minutes earlier and like get home because I'm gonna have to sit in traffic. Like all I would just it would make me mad. Like, oh, I'm gonna sit in traffic even longer now because we had to give Ryback some time. Like, so some kids could do the feed me more nonsense. Like,
that was my piss break match at 29.
Was it? I think if you ask the most like adult wrestler, like, oh man, Ryback effing A, man. Like, it's just like every time he was out, I was like, I'm gone. I'm gonna go get some chicken tenders, take a piss, not in that order, and just get out of town. Right?
My favorite Ryback story was when Big E I was in Philly when Big E came out the first time, and I had no idea who it was. I'm like, oh, is that Ryback? Who is that? Like, I had no idea who it was. Like, he just looks massive. Like, he can kill someone.
The only difference though is that Big E can carry a storyline, and Ryback I think he sells supplements now. I don't know.
I saw.
If you're watching the show, Ryback, come on and tell us what you're doing.
I saw a tweet that like there was like, oh, there would have to be a lot of wrongs righted for me to come back to WWE. I'm like, you know what? That's probably not going to happen. I don't know who's talking about that other than you. Like, it doesn't.
I'm going to look it up though. I'm going to look up Ryback right now.
That's a lot of one-sided heat from Ryback to WWE. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I mean, he's really putting WWE over because like nobody's paying any attention.
Yeah, he is currently the owner. He blocked me.
Wow. Hey, Sami Zayn blocked me on Twitter because
Did he? No, you know what though? You're not the. I know somebody else who got blocked by Sami Zayn, but it was a misunderstanding. And now they're like cool with each other. But he's blocked me.
That's awesome.
Well,
that is awesome. I don't even know what I did.
I know exactly what I did. I put Sammy posted a picture of a shirt. I'm like, no one's gonna buy that, and he blocked me. It was an ugly shirt too. This is like 10 years ago. Like, it was like,
and but I can see with the new free speech Twitter thing, I can see his public posts, and I'm not gonna watch it because I don't care. But the first video it says, "Why don't you return in WWE?"
Nobody cares.
He blocked.
And the person who asked that question is probably the only person.
It's himself asking himself that question, and he answers said question. That's all he does.
Yeah. He created a burner.
Yeah,
so he could ask himself that question.
He's living Randy.
We learned something new live on the show today that Joe Rickson has been blocked by Ryback.
That is awesome.
You should put that on like a resume next time.
God, I might make that like my profile image in Twitter. I might make that like my banner.
Before we get into the matches, Joe, I know you want to talk about this. So, Joe, we spoke offline about this. Just felt awkward, right? And that's exactly the vibe that I got watching it live. It felt to me like Dwayne is shoehorning himself into this. They had no plans for any of this, and they're trying to make something work because that's what Dwayne wants. And the blur between reality and screenplay is that it is true. Dwayne's the chairman of the board. Dwayne's Vince McMahon for all intents and purposes, without really having the day-to-day. So whatever Dwayne wants, Dwayne gets. I don't know if this whole thing, like, I don't know what they're pulling from. Like, is this like McMahon making Rock his champion back in the day, the corporate Rock? Is this kind of a Palpatine Vader thing? Like, turn to the dark side, I'll give you whatever you want type thing? I just don't know where it's going. But what I do know is watching that sequence, I was left with a lot more questions than answers, and they weren't great questions. It was more like, ooh, where's this going? To more like, what the hell was I just watching?
It's funny. It's funny you say it that way because I was listening to, because I've felt the same way. I was like, this doesn't seem right. Like, it just doesn't. This doesn't make sense. And then I was listening to Jim Cornette's podcast last week, and he made a perfect point. He says there's a difference between uncertainty and confusion. Like, there is value in having somebody having somebody do such a good job that you go, well, are they heel or are they face? Like, there's a difference, and there's confusion. And that's the worst. And I was just confused. And first off, I think The Rock was drunk. Am I the only one that thought? Like, I thought he was drunk. I would be drunk if I took a shot every time he hawked his tequila on the show. I'm getting pretty tired of that. That's getting a little bit old. But I was confused. To me, where it really went wrong is it makes more sense. And I agree with you. I think it's The Rock shoehorning himself in. This worked 20 years ago, so I'm going to try it again now, even though the business is different. The The corporate setup is different. It worked when it was Vince. Like, yeah, you're the chairman of the board, but like, what's that mean in relation to the new company and all that stuff? I think where it went off the rails is I think it works better if they build up the friendship between him and Cody, and then Cody comes out and The Rock sort of blindsides him with this appeal. I think it works better that way. If Cody's like, whoa, I thought we were friends. Like if it was Cody, the one who's like, look at the picture of our moms. Like we had a moment. We were like, what's going on here? But like, The Rock kept saying things that got him cheered and got him booed, and it was just this weird dynamic, and it didn't work because Cody was like, what, I don't know, you think we're tight? Like it was just a very weird vibe. And like I said, Jim Cornette put it perfectly. He said they had the chemistry of formaldehyde. It just didn't work. And I was very sort of, I just thought it wasn't good. I thought The Rock winged a lot of it. It feels very forced, and the storyline doesn't make sense. It made sense because Vince was really in control of the company. Like we knew that Vince was the dictator, and it was a top down. So it made sense if Vince was like, "You're going to be my guy," right? But like, The Rock is the face of the company purely on paper. Like no one believes that The Rock is like pulling the strings at TKO. Like no one believes. So to me, it just doesn't make sense. We're getting shoehorned in, and like I said to Lou, like Lou knows this. Once again, I'll always love The Rock. I mean, he's a legend, but like, you don't get free cred from me just because you did something awesome before. Like you got to bring something to the table new every time. Otherwise, you're sort of wasting my time, and you're making it clear you're just feeding off your previous allure. Yeah. And the crowd was like, it was just weird. He was like, you guys are with the ST. He made the joke about the STDs. Then he said something later, he got cheered. Like it was sort of all over the place. I don't know. That's just my opinion. It feels like you said, it feels very forced.
Joe Rickson famously booed Bill Goldberg.
I did
when he was facing Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania,
and I called that. I called that ending. I said it was going to be bad. You know, I booed Goldberg.
I'm looking at Joe like, are you kidding me right now? What are you doing? You can't Bill Gold. And he's like, no, he was the only one in the section. I'll never forget that. That was hilarious.
Once again, it's like you know, Brian, you and I are both like Disney adults, right? Like I'm not tied to the past, right? Like they're getting rid of Muppets 3D. That's sad, but they're replacing it with these awesome new rides. That's great. Like that's sort of how I am with wrestling. Like I'm not obsessed with like, oh, I got to cheer this guy because he's The Rock. Like if you're not bringing anything of value, then you can't convince me to engage. Yeah. And like I said, I think the storyline is weird. Now, do I think Cody is going to accept it? No way. No. I mean, they've built him. He is such a baby face right now. There is no way they're going to turn him heel because the baby face thing is still working. Like at the end of the day, this is a business, right? So I don't think, and that's another thing. Like, there's no way he's gonna come back. If he comes back and he's heel, I will be mind blown. I'll take back everything that I said. But I'm 99.9% sure that's not happening. So it's just a waste of time. And I feel like they could have done a much better job with a different storyline. I don't know what that is, but
I'll tell you what though. I think I gave it a lot of thought too because I have been confused by this a lot. And you know what The Rock said in the press conference after was that you really don't know what's going on. You don't know what the character's doing. That he wants his soul. He mentioned that, right? And like the uncertainty versus the confusion, I get it. But I think I saw a video earlier that last year after the Raw after Mania, The Rock specifically told him, you know what, if you're champion or not, Cody, when I come back, I'm coming for you. So, he already said he's coming back for Cody, come hell or high water. But what I think is making this storyline confusing is that Cody's not really playing up the fact that they're friends. It seems kind of like one-sided that The Rock is like, yeah, Mama Rhodes, Mama Rock, we're cool. We had tequila. And Cody's like, he kind of looks confused. So I think if Cody would play that part of the angle a little better, it would make sense because now if they're friends, if they've become tight since last year's WrestleMania, now it makes sense that The Rock will be like, you know what? But I want your soul. Now you've gone through, I've left you alone. Now it makes a little bit more sense. But the way that it's been executed, I think thus far, I agree 100%. It's more confusing than anything. But at the same time, we have to give the benefit of the doubt to the writing as it's been lately. that even if stuff doesn't make sense on the onset, it all does come together. So I guess we have to wait until the end of this to see. But yeah, it is definitely more confusing than intriguing. For
They could have just flipped the delivery, like where it was Cody saying, "Oh, look, we're friends and we're hanging out and our moms," and then The Rock comes in, he's like, "Oh, wait, time out," like. Yeah, or if they pitched it like, maybe in recent matches or recent championship matches they had used The Rock to elevate Cody, or The Rock had come in and helped Cody win a match or two, then this storyline makes more sense. But like, I just don't think this has been thought through.
Because then we have that random appearance where he counted down and did the neck thing. That hasn't been who was he looking at? Was it Roman? Was it Cody? Like, it is definitely The Rock shoehorning his way in 100%.
I feel like, and this is blasphemy, but I feel like he's lost a bit of his fastball. He's not as quick-witted as he used to be. I think this balance between I'm The Rock, you love me, to I'm the final boss, you have AIDS, I think is like, I think that's just awkward in its delivery. Like, you literally are playing both sides of the coin. And the reason it feels weird as to Cody and Rock being from, when the hell did that happen?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
When the hell did that happen? The last 3 times I've seen Rock in a storyline appearance, Raw after Mania, when he handed something back to him, and I was there. It was great show. We don't know what he handed back to him yet. We think it's this watch. Okay, fine. He came out at Bad Blood, I think it was, in Atlanta. Or wasn't? I don't know, whatever. He came out and did the stupid 3-finger thing. No idea what the hell that is. Now, all of a sudden, because Rock came out of Netflix Raw and said something nice about Cody Rhodes in a non-storyline fashion, this is just business type thing, which we saw it for what it was. When did any of this happen? Right. So like, it's very choppy to get to this point. And then, I want your, is Cody going to go back to black hair and be like evil? But who's your top face then? Like, I don't think they've thought that. Again, that's why it's the uncertainty and the choppiness, which makes you feel like this wasn't part of the plan.
Mm-hmm.
That the plan changed because somebody pulled rank and said, well, I need to be involved now. Right. We still don't know where that's going to go. I think the Chamber match may give you some clarity, but at this point right now, no matter what, Roman Reigns is not going to be at Chamber in any sort of capacity other than a cameo, which I don't think is going to happen. That would make no sense. So Roman is not in the championship match at WrestleMania.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way into that.
No.
We're going to talk through who might be and why, but if Cody's getting drawn into this thing with Rock, again, like, where is that gonna go, right? So,
I did see a theory online about that. If Cody rejects the deal, he'll pull somebody else in the fold, and that may go towards who's going to win Elimination Chamber, because it wasn't from a reputable source. It's just you read things online. That, first of all, I read that some people are not happy in WWE that The Rock just came all of a sudden, and 2, the theory is floating out there that Cody is going to reject, and I don't see this happening, but the theory exists that the final boss is going to want somebody. So, and who better to elevate to the next level, who's on his last leg, than John Cena? If John Cena were to be like, and again, I don't think that it's going to happen, but it's out there, that if somebody feels like I can't do this anymore, and man, I'm trying so hard, and John Cena would play into that he just needs a little bit of help, and why wouldn't you put that out there on his last leg? But the rumor is that the final boss is going to want somebody to be their corporate champion. So that's also out there in a possibility. But then again, why go through this mess with Cody? It's really just doesn't make sense, no matter how you slice it.
The only way I can see any of it is if you start to pull back to this Roman Rock thing, right? Where I think what you could do, it depends if Rock's wrestling. Because you can get Rock Roman. You can get that if Roman comes out and says, you're friends with him now? Because again, Cody and Roman have still intertwined. They had the tag match. They had the shot at Georgia was awesome. Like that whole 7-minute video was just tremendous, where Roman said, "You're standing in my way in life," right? Like, so I've always thought that Rock was Roman's final boss. Like, I thought that was the direction it was going to end up to, and that's what puts Roman over forever into the stratosphere of the greats of all time. As he beat The Rock, he goes to whatever. I think you can still get there, but if The Rock's not wrestling at Mania, I don't know what the hell The Rock's doing on TV. And then we get into the same old discussion we had last year, which is, like, I think CM Punk needs the WrestleMania main event. Like, I think that's why he came back, right? So if you're going to have Jay and Gunther, if you're going to have Cena doing something that's not with these people, if you're going to have Rock do, where are you getting this main event from?
Mm-hmm.
And like, did Dwayne see the bat? This was a joke. Did he see the bat signal that Punk was going to get a main event match at Mania? He couldn't stand it, so he got to come back and take it away. Like, I just, it's not. I'm curious, less so just to see how what plays out, to see if it can make sense.
The Rock did say also in that press conference that a match doesn't necessarily have to take place. So I don't know if he's necessarily inclined to come back to wrestle. I don't know if that's the end goal, which then puts more of a wrench into this. Like, then what are you really doing, bro? Like, get out of here. And I love The Rock. I love The Rock. I can never boo that man. But at this point, it's like, what are you doing?
I have been the biggest proponent over the years of, if you have guys that can't wrestle anymore, but they can do the mic, they can do the managerial. Like, again, I have absolutely no idea, God rest his soul, why they never brought back Hogan, Hall, and Nash to run a new NWO as the mouthpieces. It never made any sense to me why wouldn't the Undertaker be there doing whatever he wants to? Vince did it, right? Like,
I mean, half the reason there was a whole 5-year stretch where half the reason I watched Raw when it was sort of a little bit down was because Paul Heyman was must-watch TV every single week. He carried the show basically. So no, I'm all about it. I think that sometimes the handlers are just as important as the wrestlers, right? For this, I just don't really know where they're going, and that's not in a good way.
Yeah,
it's not like, oh, I want, like I said, the wondering versus the uncertainty versus the confusion. I'm definitely more confused. And it's not good for business.
No. We'll get into just the non-chamber matches first and foremost. So Sammy and Kevin in an unsanctioned match, which I've always felt was the absolute dumbest sort of. I mean, I understand what you're trying to do. It's a no holds barred match. Yeah, could have just said that. Look, it's going to be an unbelievable match, right? These two, the chemistry off the chart. Like, they're going to do something just fantastic, and it's great. And it's probably going to end up being, we look back at this like a month from now, this was the best match on the card, because you just know that they're going to bring it. Although,
and it's in, I mean, we're in Canada. Like, this match is going to be absolutely bonkers.
But do you feel as though we're at this match because they just didn't have anything else to do with these two? Like, Kevin was hot for the longest time, right? And he was like, again, this thing with Cody and the fake title and everything else. And then he lost that match, and now he's just blaming Sammy for not helping him. Like, it almost felt like, okay, like, we're just not sure what to do, and we're done with you now, so we'll just do this. And again, it's gonna be great, right? It's gonna be great. And I really like the social media promos in the car. Like Kevin's done a real nice job of making you feel the emotion, like he feels like he was wronged by Sami Zayn. Like,
he's one of the best all time at
so good
at that thing.
I used to call him CM Chunk when Punk was up there. But it's going to be a great match. I don't know where you take it after this. Like, we're 3 years, we're 2 years 2 years removed from these guys winning the tag titles at WrestleMania. Like, it just feels like, and again, that's wrestling, right? I mean, Hogan and Macho were the main event of 5 after Happy Go Lucky at 4. So I guess that's whatever.
Yeah, the difference here though is that this will be in WWE match 72 of Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. I'm kind of overseeing them, like, best friends betraying each other, best friends hating on. I'm kind of over it. But the match is going to be fantastic, especially in Canada. But I think, Kevin Owens was never going to beat Cody. So to get him there, you wanted to lift him up a little bit. But then once you get him there, then what? Which is a problem with a lot of the roster is like you have these, and this is a problem too with these lengthy title reigns too. You know that the person champion X is not going to lose at X event, so it's like it's kind of like, well, there's really nothing to do here. You're going to have a good match. You're going to have some good moments, but Kevin Owens was at an all-time high, and then Sami Zayn before the Rumble, they're pushing him like, oh, you got to have your moment. They're pushing him up kind of like this little underdog, the little engine that could, and then he doesn't do much of anything. So it's like Sami Zayn is kind of like the new Zack Ryder, I would say, where you get him to a certain point and then you just throw him off the ramp and just let him climb his way back up to the top. It's like, it's gonna be a great match, yes, but I'm kind of over it, and sure, have it at Canada. They're both Canadians, let them have their little epic moments, but it is what it is.
No, I would agree with you there. I mean, I'll always love these matches. Like, I'm a big Kevin Owens guy. Like, he's actually a Mount Rushmore heel for me. Like, I just think he's one of the best to ever do it. Like, I just think he's unbelievable. He sells the emotion probably better than, like you said, better than any wrestler. I mean, I've sat by the ramp a few times. If he comes out, you can feel the heat coming off. He is just like, he's ready to murder somebody, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's so blue collar and gritty with the duct tape over the shirt. Like, I just love every minute of it. The only thing I'm interested about is, like, to me, this match almost has to end with like someone stepping in, right? Like, I feel like this is what they do. Kevin Owens is going to beat the crap out of Sami Zayn. He's going to get just enough to the close to the line. You're like, all right, that's enough, man. This is getting bad. To me, I wonder who that person that's going to come in and save Sami is going to be. I think that's almost how this match has to end. Is it a Randy Orton, right? Like, is that who comes in? But I feel like this match is going to end with a pile of chairs in the middle of the ring, and Kevin Owens is about to kill Sami, and someone comes in and saves Sami and puts Kevin Owens through the ring, right? I feel like that's almost how this match has to go. I'm excited to see it just from the technical elements. I think it's going to be a great match. But I think you're right, Lou. How many times can we go back to this well? I mean, I think this is iteration 430.
Interesting point, though, because, again, who's going to wrong Kevin next?
Right.
And, like, Randy was his friend, right?
He's due to come back soon.
And then Randy might show up and then, help Sami. Like, well, I thought we were friends. Everybody's just not, like, he continues to just lose his mind.
But once again, it's a smart way for Randy Orton to keep getting work, right? I mean, he's just, as long as there's something for this is, once again, if you want to last in the business, you got to do this kind of stuff. And Randy Orton's title days are probably over, but hey, I'll start a feud with Kevin Owens for a few months, right? Like,
just cashing checks, right?
I respect it.
Yeah, I think the spot of the night will be in this match. I don't know what's going to be, but the one sequence you'll remember is going to be something that one of these two do to each other, because they just don't care. They're old school in that, like, this stuff actually means something to them. Like, it's not a stock.
Something high by Kevin Owens to Sami.
Something
possible.
Package pile driver on the table.
Oh, that would
package
be
pile driver onto something.
I feel like a lot of things are going to get broken during this match. I feel like it's just going to be wild, and I love it. I love it for. I mean, it's according, but for Canada, like, this is something that they're going to have this, and this is going to be like a moment of national pride for that fan base. And I think it's going to make the match even better, because they're going to be so into this match that whatever weakness we have with the match, or, iteration 574, like, it's just not, I think once the match starts, it's really not going to matter anymore. I'm just going to be really excited to see these two guys beat the crap out of each other. And
I don't know that the winner matters. There might not be a winner.
It doesn't.
There might just be a double.
Like I said, I think
double knockout.
Yeah, or they could do was it Lou? What was it? Backlash, where they had the Shinsuke got hit in the crotch. It was a no disqualification match that ended in a disqualification because neither guy could get up. Do you remember that, Brian?
No,
I don't.
I'm gonna pull it up later. I'll send it to you guys.
Yeah.
It was just like, I just remember being like, "What? No disqualification? You have to end it in disqualification, right?"
That was the Fiend with Seth Rollins.
I don't remember. Well, I'll find it. I'll pull it up and send it to you. But no, to me, there doesn't have to be a winner. There might not be a winner, and that's okay. I just want to see these two guys beat the crap out of each other, and the fans get really pumped up.
That's what it's there for.
Sure.
There is a 0% chance that Tiffany to Trish lose this match. I don't understand why that would make any sense at all.
I think the bigger question is, like, who takes the pin here.
Candice LeRae.
Candice LeRae.
It's gonna have to be. It's gonna have to be. Like, there's no way Nia is getting pinned here.
nothing against Candice LeRae. She sticks out like a sore thumb in this match.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm trying to think of like, I don't know, but like she has no business being there, but she's friends with Nia, so that they make it work.
No,
Right?
she's gonna take that, and I'm sure like when they're going over the day before, like, hey, so Candace, she's like, oh, I know, I already know, I'm taking this thing here.
Yeah, I mean, look, this is all about elevating Tiffany. That's all this is for.
Yeah,
which is fine, by the way. That's good. I mean, look, again, you get the rub from Trish, north of the border. That's a win. It gives Nia something to do for the time being, and Candice LeRae is just happy to be there.
This might be a Trish Stratus swan song. Being in Canada, it might be, man. It might be.
She's still good though. Like,
she is, but I mean, what a better way to go out than in front of your, they all love. Isn't Toronto, right?
Yeah,
they all love Toronto.
Yeah, but once again, this is just more rocket fuel for
Tiffany,
for the Tiffany rocket to the space.
They're just pushing.
She's gonna win it with Trish Stratus. Crowd's gonna go crazy. Like, it's just we're just building and building and building. Yeah, Candice LeRae is taking the pin. I think she knows that right now. They don't even have to have a meeting about it. She's like,
I'm
okay,
I'm just throw this out there, right? I think she's gorgeous. However, she's had a lot of work done. Okay,
who's that?
Look, I'm not advocating. Look, if you happen to Google pictures of Tiffany Stratton that should not have been released to the internet, they're out there. I didn't put them there. Don't blame me. But she looks completely different today than she does in those pictures. God bless her. I mean, God bless modern technology. Like she's a stunner right now. But literally, she's as plastic as possible. Where I will give Tiffany a lot of credit, and I think this sometimes gets lost on this year that she's been on, is like her character has kind of low-key changed a couple of times, right? Like she was this like Barbie Paris Hilton thing in NXT. Like she's not really doing that anymore. Like she does the toodles and whatever, the Tiffy time thing. That's fine, right? But I think it's more Mean Girls now than it was, and it works, right?
Sure.
Like bitch works, and it works.
Sure.
It's just not like Tiffany used to come out to like on the NXT screen with like the Barbie font.
Yeah.
That's not there anymore. They've changed her music a couple times. Like it has not been the smoothest of roads, but you haven't really felt it because she's very good at what she does. You know,
Yeah.
She's very, very physically gifted. I mean, that moonsault she does, I mean, they call it what they call it for a reason. It's absolutely perfect. I mean, her gymnastics background is, ridiculous, but she's going to be huge. She already is. I mean, this is all about elevating her, which is why she's going to win this match. There's not much else to talk about because it's literally it's a filler match that accomplishes get Trish in front of a Canadian audience, give Nia and Candice something to do, and show Tiffany, have her come out, can't lose her titles, nobody cares.
Yeah. Trish will save her from something. They'll be ganging up on her. Trish will come in and save her. Tiffany gets the pin. And
what odds do you give me on a double pin simultaneous?
Oh, about 20% chance.
I think that's got to be like not that much plus money. Like if I was betting that, like I could see that.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I didn't think about it. That's good though. That's good.
Elevates everybody.
If you're going to elevate Tiffy to that next level to start elevating her, you might want her to pin Nia Jax because Nia is the destroyer and she's been one of the big women.
Well, yeah, and that's where the double pin might make sense. Like that's where it might make sense. No, I'm interested. I wonder if there's a prop bet out there for that somewhere. I wonder if there's got Casino in Vegas is taking that shot.
All right. So if we do this, 5 minutes a person will be done by 11 o'clock. There's 12 people. We won't take that long. All right. Roxanne Perez. Why and why not? The why I think is pretty easy in that if you're looking to rocket ship the next one, she just showed up. Could be the female Randy Orton, right? You could play that as far as youngest possible women's champion. She's playing a bit of a heel right now, so her going up against Rhea would be interesting. The why not is she just showed up there. I mean, that's the why not.
She's not ready yet. She's not ready. And she just went back to NXT to get punched in the face by Jordan Grace.
Yeah.
So she's not done with NXT just yet. So she's just not ready yet. I would love to see her. They gave her the longest. She was in the Rumble the longest amount of time. So that speaks for something. But And this type of match, she's not ready.
They can always use Chamber to build up a rivalry for her too, to help build her up, maybe. So no, I'd agree with you there. Not a shot.
I just don't. And again, she's got a bright future too. I mean, they're pushing her as well, but she's in that in between area, but like where she's still showing up on NXT. She's in a story bit there. I'm going to go do this and everything else. Like, again, it's great that she's there. She'll probably have a good showing. She had a great showing at the Rumble. She may be one of the last 3 people in the match, not the last 2. Like, I think that like she's like the second to last person to get pinned, I guess, let's put it that way. But she can hold her own. Yeah. I just don't think now's the time. Bayley's also back and forth between NXT right now. And she seems to really like that, and that's fine. Bayley versus Rhea is not exactly a match that I see myself, gravitating towards. I just don't feel that right. I don't know. Like, it doesn't. There's not a lot of juice to that right now. Not that Bayley's Bayley, but like it just doesn't feel like that's face versus face. I just don't see that realistically as something was the direction that they go.
No, and that's the same reason why face versus face, heel versus heel. Like, it doesn't make sense. She's earned the opportunity to be there clearly, so she deserves she deserves the screen time. But I don't think that works.
Same. She's like we discussed earlier, or like I said earlier, the 4 horsewomen are on their way to elevating everybody else. She just won the Rumble last year. She had her WrestleMania moment last year. Zero reason to give it to her on this particular evening.
I put Naomi and Bianca together simply because I feel as though there's story happening here, right? I don't necessarily know that either of them win. I think obviously Bianca has a better chance than Naomi does because Bianca and Rhea have history. Again, they were the final 2 in the Rumble. Like, you can go back to that. But I feel as though when you have both members of a tag team in this match, like here's where the mega powers explode, basically. And like we're still seeing, we don't have a lot of resolution to anything that's happened with Jade. Tim says, I got Bayley winning, turning heel going into Mania. Okay. I mean, it had to be quick though. You have to turn heel pretty quickly, but doesn't mean that can't happen.
Right.
I don't know. Like, again, I just feel as though these 2 are here to set up potentially a triple threat at Mania with the 2 of them and Jade.
I don't know, man. I think Bianca's going to win this thing. She's I think she's going to win. Like, they might be setting up a scenario where, she might, she loses. I just don't think they're going to wind up using Naomi in a different way with her. I think Bianca's, but I think she's going to get her shot. I think she wins this only because, like you said, there's 6 different reasonable possibilities here. She's one that makes, I think, the most sense for me anyway. I think she sort of earned that spot too. She'll get enough of a pop. Now, whether she wins at WrestleMania is a different story, but for me, she makes the most sense of everybody.
I had her second at the beginning of this week. I actually had, she's want to be one of the next. I had Liv winning it all. Her winning the tag team titles kind of now makes me believe she's not going to win the Elimination Chamber.
I was right there with you, Lou. That was my thinking.
Yep.
If you had asked me this question 2 weeks ago, I would have told you. I would have told you it was different.
But as of now, I have Bianca now just because Liv, I believe, is out, and you still have the dynamic of, like you said, Jade coming back and is like, well, wait a minute, we were the tag team champions first, and then now Bianca has to choose between who she's been riding with recently versus who she was, with first, and that could create a dynamic of, Bianca being like, it was me, Austin, it was me all along, and having her turn. That would be a fantastic turn of events with Bianca because she's never really been heel like that. So this would be and Rhea is the super face, which I'm kind of sick of too. I mentioned that last show. But this would be fantastic for Bianca to freshen it up and turn heel, go into Mania as a heel. That would be an epic match, Bianca and Rhea.
Look, obviously there's history there. I mean, that's a money-making match, but then, I mean, does that set up? I mean, I don't even know if Jade's coming back. So, I mean, I don't necessarily want to. I mean, but they've been talking about it, so like you kind of like get that little tease, like they might be coming to a crescendo, at least with that, or at least some kind of a here's who did it type thing. I agree with you that Liv winning the tag titles, which, by the way that they've positioned Liv and Raquel as Shawn and Diesel, I mean, has been great.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
Like they even look the part. Like it's like it's so good. Like it's so good. But now that they've won the tag titles, I think that they did that. I think that takes Liv out of this, frankly. Yeah. But it opens up Naomi and Bianca to go at each other. You know,
maybe they could be the final two. That's in the realm of possibility.
I think if they're the final two, it's a pretty obvious winner, though.
Yeah, but I mean,
it's not. Look, Naomi's not winning this match.
No.
Honestly, Naomi might be the least likely person to win this match. Nothing against her. I just don't. Right. Like she's great, but like nothing. I just don't see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just with just the styles, the presentation. Like I'm just thinking to WrestleMania, and I'm thinking Rhea coming out in her typical darkness, and then you got Bianca coming out in her bright, pretty colors. Like I think that visually to me that's the antithesis of one another. I think visually it works too. But no, like I said, Lou, I'm right there with you, man. And kudos for them finally like giving a belt to somebody on Raw. Like I enjoy belts changing on non-pay-per-view shows. Sometimes it keeps you engaged, and
yeah.
So kudos to them for doing that, because that was a lot of fun. I didn't expect it, so it was certainly fun. And I agree with you, bro. I think they looked the part that Shane and Diesel. It works perfectly. It's probably why they did it, is because the Triple H was like, this reminds me of this. Let's go ahead and do that.
In just another example of why I hate the internet, people are upset, legitimately, that Bianca and Naomi lost the tag team titles in February. And I'm having this. I'm like, guys, it's not that serious. Number one, it's a pre-written show. They've had the titles for I don't even know how long.
It's been a long time.
Like, are we serious? Like, does that really what you want to argue about today? Like that's we're planting our flag with this.
There's other dabbling. There's other critiques of Triple H for much of the same.
I don't know. Nobody can have fun. Fun is dead. Everything's just way too serious. My personal pick to win, not because I've loved her forever, Alexa Bliss coming back, the pop she got at the Rumble. Like, you can play the Wyatt 6 versus like that darkness type thing.
I love Alexa Bliss. Like, she's one of those, she can do no wrong with me. Like, I just think she's great. I don't think she wins this match. If she does, I'll be super stoked because, like I said, I love her to death. But once again, I just don't think the timing works. But she might be one of the final two. Like, she could be. Like, I could see her and Bianca being down to the last two. I can see that happening potentially. I think she's earned that. But I'm a big fan of any match Alexa Bliss was in. I will gladly watch.
No, she's great. I agree too. She's just not. It's not her time just yet. And listen, if Triple H, if you're watching this, if you somehow watch this, I beg you, please get her out of the Wyatt 6 stuff. Please remove her from any notion of the Wyatt. Please, just get the Wyatt 6 off the TV. Please. No, I love Alexa Bliss too. She's got the resume. She's been multi-time champion. It would be an upset at this point from her. It's been forever that she's been back. She had the baby. She got back into shape. She had her little re-debut at the Rumble, which was cool. I don't know if she has enough stock today to go into a championship match at WrestleMania. I don't know if she does at this point in time. I don't know. Not against Rhea. If it was like Io Sky still, I could see Io against Alexa, but against Rhea, I don't know if Alexa has the stock. Not today. But that's just me.
I mean, she's going to be prevalent in the match, if nothing else. I mean, I don't. It depends how much. Well, I agree with that. It depends how much they want to push her, though. So, that went quicker than I thought. Okay, men's match. There's a lot of why not. And want to give me a why for Damian Priest?
He's Puerto Rican, just like me. Other than that, there's nothing else I got. I got nothing else for Damian. I love him, but zero. There's negative 100% chance.
Yeah, I don't have a good reason there too. I mean, I hope he has a good showing. Like, I want him to do well. I like him, but I just don't. Once again, the storyline doesn't really work. I don't see him in him. The lines aren't really crossing.
Mm-mm.
What do you? What do you do?
He, out of anybody, is the filler person in this match, unfortunately, because he's good.
Right, he's the like he is the 6 guys.
Yeah.
So. I mean, again, Cody Seth is not necessarily a match I think they're going to go with. I think that's face. I think that there's a lot of other people that you'd rather have in that spot, and I think Seth ends up doing something else.
Seth freaking Rollins is always going to be the B person in this era. And he at this point, I think with, they make fun of you for this, Brian, but I think with Cody, Roman, The Rock, even if you want to include him, Seth he's at the bottom of the A tier at this point, and he's great. I love his music. I love his work. It's not a knock on Seth Rollins at all. But I think with what happened at the Rumble, you're going to set up him and Roman, or him and Roman and Punk if The Rock doesn't get in there somewhere. It's like Seth is not winning this match. There's no clout for him to go up against Cody Rhodes. It's unfortunate because he's great, but I don't see it at all.
There's just still too much beef out there, right? With him and CM, right? And that still, like, they haven't really rectified that. I mean, obviously Roman Reigns. It's like I said, once again, I'm not seeing where the lines intersect. Seth will always be great. I mean, he'll always be part of a major storyline, I feel like. But yeah, I'm just not. Once again, I'm not seeing the writing on the wall for what benefits them for him. The only benefit is Seth Rollins is fun.
I just don't think there's. I mean, we've seen Cody and Seth before. Like, I just think that that's not a primary, story that you want to get. But there's just so many other things.
Yeah. They have more they can do with him. He doesn't need this.
Yeah. Like, I know that, but that goes back. So, like, Cody's had these moments with everybody. He's had Punk in the ring. He's had Seth in the ring, talking about, this is just reading, I was the one that helped you. This, that, now you're doing this. It's like, everything's like intertwined. And that's what's made it really good. Mm-hmm. But in the same sense, I don't think Seth Rollins is in the main event of WrestleMania 41 against Cody Rhodes. I don't see that.
No.
Now, if it were me, and it's not, but if it was, I think this makes a lot of sense. I understand I have a bias in this, but listen, I got to tell you, Tony Khan's greatest achievement in wrestling is bringing back CM Punk and getting Cody Rhodes back to it, making Cody Rhodes, right? I mean, like, my God, like, where is this company today without these two guys?
It's also like, does he think that like keeps him up at night, like knowing that he had both of these guys on his roster, and he basically just like built them to give them away to somebody else. Like, it's just like, if I were him, like, if I died, this would be on my tombstone. Like, don't forget. Don't make the same mistakes I did, kids. Like, it's just hard for me to believe that at one point in time these two guys were in the same organization and they couldn't figure out how to get it right. Like, it's just bonkers to me. But no, I agree with you. I think it would be awesome for CM Punk to main event WrestleMania. I just don't think it's gonna happen. I just don't.
But this is my problem, right? I understand that maybe it was the plan last year and things happened and didn't work out.
Yeah.
But you got to think they have. You want to talk about strike while the iron's hot?
Yeah.
He might even be wrestling a year from now.
Yeah.
Like, he's talking about my body's breaking down,
I think Punk would be a great choice because he, like you said, everything is intertwined. Everything matters at this point of what is being said specifically. And when you tell Cody Rhodes that you'll stab him in the front, that's blatantly telling him, like, listen, I'll do whatever I have to do. I don't care what line I have to cross. I'm going to face you at WrestleMania for the title. And I kind of wanted him to win the Royal Rumble if it wasn't John Cena. Winning the Chamber, because Cody Rhodes. All right, this is what I was going to say too earlier. Cody Rhodes is only going to lose to a certain caliber of guy. He's not going to lose to just anybody, and that includes Seth freaking Rollins. CM Punk is of that ilk that it is believable that he can pin Cody Rhodes.
Mm-hmm.
He's one of the only guys in this match that has that aura with him.
Mhm.
So they're not going to have him win here unless that favor comes into play later and it becomes a three-way dance somewhere with the winner, you know. But to me, it would make the most sense, logically speaking, to have Punk win.
That's the thing, right? So how does so let's just say that came up. It's not as if he's getting Roman shot or anything like that. So then how does Paul Heyman? I don't know, right? Like I don't really.
And that favor doesn't have to be for Mania. It's just outstanding. So like it would make sense to pull that for WrestleMania if he doesn't win here. But I think that the aura of that outstanding favor too is always going to linger until it is paid. Because Punk can go heel just as easily as he's been a face, and it would work just the same, probably better, you know, because he's a douche in real life, so he would make a perfect heel.
Yeah, as long as he's main eventing, I don't think he really cares how he gets there.
Yeah,
like I don't and once, like you said, that's the beauty of CM. He can flip like that. His personality works for that rebel without a cause bastard sort of thing. That anybody can do that. You can be that good rebellious. I'm going to fight for things, and then you can also be like, I don't really care. I'm just here to get what I'm supposed to get. It would be great. I just just deep down inside, I just feel like it's not going to happen. I can't even tell you why. It's just like a general vibe, I guess. It's just I don't know.
Joe, I think we were all together that in Newark, that one random Saturday Night Collision, towards the end of CM Punk's tenure in AEW.
Yeah.
When like everybody was booing him, and I'm looking around like this doesn't even feel right to boo CM Punk. Like, what are we really doing?
And especially knowing what we know now about how like how messed up the locker room was and all that stuff. Like there's a lot of stuff that I don't think we knew. And I didn't understand it, but yeah, no, it's crazy that he went from being booed in a half-empty arena in Newark to now he's like potentially main eventing Mania. Like once again, if you're Tony, man, it's tough. It's really tough to watch that. But no, I would love to see it. I think it'd be great. I mean, it'd be awesome for him to get his moment. If he does get it, you know the arena is going to explode.
Sure.
I mean, it's one of those things where you just know the place is going to go crazy. I'm just not sure if this is what's in the cards with some of the people that are in this.
Also, just of note, Punk was a very vociferous critic of WWE going to Saudi Arabia. Not a fan of that. He has not gone with them since they've gone. They do have a show in June, I believe, in Saudi Arabia. Given the fact that the Rumble is there next year, like I feel as though Punk's going to find a way. Again, whatever. I don't care. I'm just being honest. It's just what we think it looks like. So there's got to be a way to get Punk a main event match.
This is it.
And while we're on the subject, again, is there a Roman Rock? I don't necessarily know that Rock can do a match by himself anymore, right? So maybe Rock needs a three-way dance. Like maybe, again, Punk has history with Rock, history with Roman. Again, it's kind of funny how you go back and you look at all these things like Venn diagrams. Like you can draw a lot of Venn diagrams with all these people, like the intertwining of everything. So, you know, could you get a Roman Rock Punk match? Could you get the Punk Seth Roman match was the one everybody keeps thinking is going to happen. I guess depends what Rock's doing. That's a main event match. Like I don't, you could have the Jay Gunther match open the show or open night 2. You could do it, you know? So, I mean, let's remember, Brock Seth opened up 35.
That was a different circumstance, though, from what was revealed later. Brock just wanted to get up out of there.
Yeah, I know. But my point is that, like, we get enamored with the last match has to be the title match. It doesn't have to be the title match. Not when there's so many goddamn titles. I mean, you figure it out. Drew McIntyre is probably my second least likely winner behind Damian Priest. Are we on agreement with that?
Sure. Unfortunately, yes.
And don't him and Damian Priest have beef with each other? Like, don't they?
That was the story, was they were going to do a match between Priest and Priest and Drew, and they didn't want to do it.
So I don't know. Yeah, no, he's my yeah, I agree with you. At least second least likely.
I just don't see it.
He's cooled off big time, unfortunately. But
I love his presence. Like, he's just a big, bad, scary dude. Like, you need them in these types of events because they're going to do something crazy, like throw somebody really far or almost kill somebody, right? Like, you need him to sort of set up maybe the return of a guy who got beat or pretty bad earlier in the match, but is still hanging around. Like, oh, how did he survive? He just got killed by Drew McIntyre. How was he down to the last two, right? Like, so he'll play a role, but yeah, I just don't see it.
Hey, Joe, what do you think about Logan Paul?
No, I don't think so. I mean, like I said, I love him. I think he's great. It's like most heel can be. Like, I just once again, I just don't think the storyline works out here. I think it'd be fun. It'd be a lot of fun. It would make the super hardcore wrestling fans really pissed if Logan Paul found his way into a main event like this. And that would bring me joy because, like, I'm a little bit like you, Brian. I'm a total troll. Like, I just whatever makes the sweat hogs who care way too much about this stuff sometimes really mad is great with me. But like I said, as long as they have him throw him a prime in the ring and he chugs it at some point during the match to get some brand recognition in, I'm all about it. And I love him because I think he's a good wrestler. I think he's good.
He shouldn't be this good.
Right. I mean, it's one of those things where when he first came out with like that stupid Charizard necklace, I think we were together, we were watching like one of these. I was like, oh man, what an idiot! And then he gets in the ring, you're like, oh my god, this guy's better than half these guys. He's been doing this like a month.
Yeah.
So no, I'm a big fan. I'll always just enjoy him being around. He is very, very good. But I think in the last Raw, didn't they sort of touch on maybe him and AJ maybe having some beef? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see. So I don't really see that happening. I wouldn't mind seeing him and AJ beef a little bit. That might be fun. But we'll see. But no, I don't think so.
Speaking of trolling, my current favorite thing is to remind people that the Super Bowl MVP is decided by 16 people. Like, do you really care? In the grand scheme of things, do you really care what 16 people with journalism degrees think?
No.
Usually just the quarterback of the winning team 9 times out of 10. Anyway, neither here nor there. No, Logan Paul's not winning. Logan Paul is the third least likely person to win.
So I think Logan Paul, with Cody being the champion to choose, that automatically DQs Logan. If it had been Gunther available to choose, then you could sneak Logan Paul and get the W here. But again, the fact that it's Cody, you need a certain ilk of wrestler to challenge him, and it's not Logan, not right now.
So do we think that Logan Paul is the third least likely person to win this match?
We're going to switch him and Drew, because Drew has more of a chance than Logan.
So we think that Damian has no shot.
Right.
And then
Logan has like 2%.
And then
Drew has like 10%.
And then Seth. So then your options become CM Punk or John Cena. Now, here's my biggest problem with this, and I would agree with you that this is, I think, the most likely scenario. But I said that a month ago for something else that didn't come to fruition either. Here's the thing, though, and I don't think people are thinking about this. He's got a year of this.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to happen now. I understand John Cena's going to go to WrestleMania and win the championship. It's going to be the whatever. Do they really want that kind of predictability, though? Like, I don't necessarily. I mean, yeah, I think everybody knew Cody was going to win last year, but they did it in a way where at least it kind of had some juice to it. Like, if you look, Cena Cody's a great match, and guess what? Cody would do the work for John. Cody would let John win because Cody would be the guy in history. I was the guy that got John Cena the 17th. Like, that means something to him because given how he's been in the business, like, he gets it. So like that part of it makes sense to me. The part that doesn't make sense to me is the predictability of it. Like, oh, John Cena's last Elimination Chamber. Look, he kind of set this up. But then, like, where do you go from there, right? Because to me, that would probably set up Cena Reigns, I guess, at SummerSlam or something. Like, it wouldn't be this really long reign for Cena, but it gets him number 17. I don't think you need to do it right now, though. I understand the Tom saying Bailey and Cena with, build the story again. SummerSlam for Cena, right? I don't know. Like, I feel like now that he said what he said, at the same time, it makes it more likely. It almost makes it less likely because they're setting you up for it. I don't know.
But then here's the problem though. Here's the problem with elongating this, right? Because John Cena already mentioned 17. He's gonna get 17. It's gonna happen. So now every event that he comes into, it's like there's only a few things that could propel you to the championship match. He lost the Rumble, the Elimination Chamber. The only other route to a championship match would be Money in the Bank. Now he has to win a ladder match. Now if he's in that match, then it's like, okay, the predictability. He's going to win the last Money. At some point, I think it would behoove WWE to just get it out of the way and make it at the biggest stage. That the nostalgia pop for John Cena getting 17 at the Showcase of the Immortals would be an all-time moment. And you get that out of the way. Then at that point, you could do something with Rock and Cody. You could figure out what they've been trying to figure out Cody for the last 2 years, Brian. We've talked about this on every show. They've never really had something for Cody. So as far as what he can do, you could find something for him. But you only have one more shot to get John Cena 17 at WrestleMania. This is it. And I don't care if it's predictable, because sometimes the most predictable things
I get it.
are what you want to see anyway. So it's like the kettle is hottest right now for John Cena. I think if you elongate it, you still run into that every other match he's in, he has to win because of this. Then if he doesn't win, it's just the next time out, So I think now would be the time. And you could do something slick with John Cena eliminating. He could be the last person in, and he could just fall on somebody, whatever, and win the match that way. He doesn't have to be Super Cena. So there's ways to get him to win this particular match that would make it work,
And I agree with Lou. That's why I think he's going to win, is because they can set it up so that he's like the last guy out or the second to last guy out. He's not putting in an hour worth of work.
Sure. Oh yeah. No, I get that.
Like I feel like this is, if you're going to do it, this is when you do it. And you're right. I think just get it out of the way. Like give him his. Yeah. I think if they're going to give him the belt, they're going to give him the WrestleMania moment of 17 there.
But I just,
it's predictable. I understand. I get it. It's just I just think that's how they play it.
But should we really be talking about John Cena winning the 17th World Championship as get it out of the way? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I just think that's how it is. Like, I just think it's how it's going to work.
Right, because then you eliminate his next match out will be that one, so it's always going to be predictable until it happens. So you might as well get it out of the way while you have the opportunity, and to make it make sense for him to be in the match. Because now if he wins, they're not going to have a random tournament on Raw to decide the number one contender. He's not going to win that. It's going to be Chamber or Money in the Bank.
And I think Money in the Bank is a more grueling event. Like correct. I think, like you're talking about, you're talking about he's going to be falling off of ladders 2 or 3 times. I just don't think he's going to want to.
Right. At that point, he has to be at the start of the match throughout.
Yeah.
The Chamber, you could have him come in 4, 5, 6, whatever.
No, I think you're right. It is predictable. I mean, it's just, but like I said, they've done this before. Like this isn't our first rodeo. I mean, the WrestleMania we were at where Kofi won, it was like everybody knew Kofi was winning. Like it's just it is what it is.
Yeah.
But like you said, Lou, I just think stylistically, health wise, this is what makes the most sense for preserving him for however long.
Well, no,
however long it needs to.
But to this, it's one of those things, Tim, where I think that there is value to Cody for being the guy. Cody is a student of he loves the business, right? So we talked about putting people, not that John Cena needs to be put over by anybody, but my point is that like for the record books forever, Cody Rhodes was in that match. Cody Rhodes main evented WrestleMania with John Cena, which is again not something everybody can say. I mean, The Miz can say it for what that's worth, but that like you main evented John Cena at WrestleMania, you lost the championship. John, I get that.
The fans know what's happening. Like, and I think it endears Cody to them even more that he put it out in the line and he lost the belt to Cena. Like, I just think I don't think it hurts him.
You could even do something silly like he finished his story at 40, so now he opened the way for John Cena to finish his story. or to
but this leads me to wonder.
You could do something like that.
This leads me to wonder, like, not to get too far ahead, but like, if Cody loses at WrestleMania, like, you got to think that this whole Rock rivalry plays into that at some point, because you feel like if he's going to leave Mania, he's going to leave with that's the next thing. I just don't know where they go from how that plays into this too. I don't know, but no, I think Cena's going to win this. I'd love to see Punk get his moment. I'm not quite sure where he gets it if it's not here, but
now here, but I'll give this to you again, right? Is Cena in the physical shape to do a main event at WrestleMania? Because then, could this be a triple threat match where Punk gets in here?
Sure. But then how does he get there?
The favor.
Does Paul have the stroke to pull a non-Roman involved item? I don't know if he does.
I can get behind that though.
I could get by. Yeah, that would be great. But how do you do that?
Because it just, and again,
you're adding a heel in. You really don't have one right now. You're adding one now with the triple threat. Now you've got the two faces and a heel.
But now
we always say it's never heel, face. Like, maybe this is how you get there.
But that checks off some boxes too, right? So Cody, in theory, Cena can pin Punk and not Cody, which sets up Cody getting it back at SummerSlam, maybe.
Yeah.
Or whatever. Punk and Cody in the main event of WrestleMania just to piss off Tony Khan. You get Punk as main event that he wanted forever against John Cena, who he actually likes, depending. I mean, they have history.
I think if the old man was still there, you'd 100% get Cody.
Now Mike Consalvi, the who is watching the show despite the fact that he just had a child, which is dedication, and I love that. Congratulations! Again. You missed the start of the show. We gave you the shout out. Your son's going to win the Royal Rumble next year, so I'll put my money behind him. Yes. You said Punk wins again. There's something to be said. Is there a scenario? So again, now I'm really stretching with this. I know I'm stretching with this. Is there a scenario where Punk gets? I mean, God, I love Mike. I love Mike. Is there a scenario as far-fetched as this may be that Punk wins Chamber and his favor is I want Cena in this match? That I think is a little more far-fetched, but I mean that's.
Or what about the favor? I just thought about this. What about the favor being put your spot on the line at one of these Raw on Netflix, right? And then that ends in shenanigans, thus inciting the triple threat match at WrestleMania. That could be something that they could do if that's the route they want to take.
That would be a pretty awesome main event at Mania. If you were able to make it Rhodes, Punk, Cena, like that's.
Yeah, that'd be sick.
That would be pretty sick if you
but again, is he in the physical shape at this point in his life to do a main event Mania match? Undertaker always said, I never wanted to go out there and be a shell of myself or whatever like that. Like when I couldn't do it anymore, I was not going to do it. Which, by the way, he couldn't do it for the last couple of matches, but he did it anyway. Is like
money talks, man.
Sure does. But you take the pressure off of Cena having to carry the match. If Punk is there, and Punk's maybe in the same boat, but Cody can do it. I'm not necessarily calling for a fatal four-way here. I mean, that I think is a little bit too much. But, we didn't get triple threat last year that we thought we were going to get. Triple threats have happened at Mania, obviously. Mm-hmm. Is there I don't know.
Are you saying that Punk is Rock's guy?
I didn't think about that.
That would be a turn of events.
That would be a turn of events. I'm not sure we get there. I just think it'd be fun.
Wow.
Okay. So all right. So let's okay. So listen. In my mind, there's like a 7-man match at the end, right? Because everybody's all interconnected, so I can make that case that it makes sense. So do you have Cena win, and then Rock get pissed that Cody said no, so Rock says I'm putting this guy in. And maybe it's Reigns, or maybe it's not going to be Solo. No, I don't know. Maybe it's Reigns, and then Punk says, "I want it now." It's a fatal 4-way.
That would be beyond ridiculous. That type of match, that'd be awesome.
But I feel like, and I don't know that Cena can give me a 30-minute match anymore.
Didn't stop him from forcing Goldberg on us in his 5-second matches.
That's true.
That's
Spear
why I
fest,
booed
baby.
Lou. It's because I
The
knew that
spear
match was going to be
fest.
5 seconds. Brock Lesnar's murdering everybody, but Gauntlet did, but Goldberg did one spear and took him out. That's why I booed.
He's
And
Bill
nobody's
Goldberg,
talking about
man.
The full nature of those.
Bill Goldberg. He's coming back too, by the way.
Curtis Axel has not been eliminated from the 2014 Royal Rumble, so like I'm still here. I want the match. I never lost. It's the beauty. It's the beauty of wrestling. I mean, again, the problem is we're going to talk ourselves into all these wonderful solutions, and none of them are going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because who the hell said Jey Uso was going to win the Royal Rumble? Who the hell said that?
Which one's isn't that kind of proof this is good? Like I
Yes,
feel like
I-
I
no,
think
no,
there
I'm
were
not-
years where you could watch every pay-per-view and go, that's gonna happen, that's gonna happen, that's gonna happen. We gotta sell more T-shirts, so that's gonna happen. And like I said, I'm thoroughly enjoying the product, and I love being wrong.
Sure.
Yeah.
Because I think we all remember that attitude era and just the unpredictability of that, and it's just like I feel like we've never really had that. And we will never quite get back to that. Too many kids buy T-shirts now, but
Sure.
but I have thoroughly enjoyed this new iteration. Certainly a breath.
Like
of
they don't
fresh air.
really get you that much. Like the last time I can recall them really getting me was when Triple H gave Rollins the pedigree on Raw and Kevin Owens on the chant. Nobody saw that. I was having poker at my house that night, and a bunch of guys who don't watch wrestling were watching me and Hess like mark out. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you people? I'm like, well, you don't even know what's going on right now. This is crazy, and you can't explain it to them because they have no idea.
Yeah.
But like that was like they really got me on that.
Yeah.
What could the surprise be? Like again, nobody's got a briefcase, nobody's got a thing. You know, I still think I need to know what Rock's involvement is. If Rock's not wrestling, then that changes things.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Rock could very easily say, okay, well, if you're not going to be my champion, this guy's going to be my champion. I'm going to put my money behind Reigns. And then if Reigns loses, that could set up Rock versus Reigns whenever they want to do it. Maybe it's SummerSlam in New York, which I'll be there, right? So like that with New Jersey, whatever. I kind of felt Joe giving me the stink eye for a second. Like, excuse me, it's New Jersey. Like
In the New Jersey swamps, man.
Yeah. There's a lot that they can do. I just hope Rock doesn't screw it up. I mean, is that fair? Like, I just feel like there was a road we were on, and then all of a sudden we're like,
Sure.
Yeah, no, I just like I said, I thought the promo was weird. I didn't really like it. I hope that maybe the promo was so bad that Triple H is going on. I think we're gonna have to write this down. I think we're gonna have to go a little more scripted here to get where we want to, because you can't wing it the way you used to anymore. And I lost half of it because I was watching on TV and I watched it later. I didn't see it at the time, and they had to bleep out so much of it. I don't like halftime. Like what? I don't know what's even happening right now.
Yeah.
So I hope that there's one positive that comes out of that. It's that we're not leaning on The Rock anymore to do what he used to do. It's like I said, especially if he's just go out there and hawk his tequila every time he goes out there, which, hey, respect business. I get it. I just hope that that's maybe what we get out of it, is a little more scripted at this point.
Yeah.
for the record, I have not bought any real American beer. It's not.
Is that the Hulk Hogan one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a buddy who met him in a grocery store in Pittsburgh a few weeks ago. He did an appearance there. And you know what? If you told me 10 years ago that Hogan would be getting booed so loudly on these broadcasts now, I don't know if I'd have believed you. But it's been very surprising how much the base has turned on him.
Yeah, it's I don't want to say it's embarrassing because there are legitimate reasons, but like,
Yeah.
there's a lot of revisionist history that happens with this generation looking back on things. Like there's a lot of, as a fan of sports, there's a lot of talk of Jordan wasn't as good and John Stockton's stats were inflated and Karl Malone. And it's like, what do y'all talk? The all-time leader in steals and assists, even if you're inflated by 10%, he still washes anybody today. So there's a lot of revisionist history negatively. They forget what it was like growing up as a Hulk. They forget what he did for the business. So the fact that he got booed, is a lot of revisionist history.
Well, I don't know if MJF said this, but it was in reference to Benoit, and it was like, look, you can respect Benoit the wrestler, think Benoit the human was a piece of shit,
Sure.
right? Like,
Yeah.
you can separate the two from me. Maybe you can't. I don't know anymore. I get all sides of it. I don't know. To me, I think sometimes, like, when you're in the world of the WWE universe, like, it's the character more so than the person. So, like, if you told me in a previous life Cody Rhodes murdered 12 people in cold blood, I'm still probably going to cheer him because Cody Rhodes, a character, is awesome. So, like, I just he's playing. If that makes any sense at all? Like, you kind of like, in this world, here's who this person is. Outside of it, I really don't care. Type, like, it doesn't really.
Yeah.
I don't know.
There's I've been on record as a current day Hulkamaniac still.
Yeah.
And I just saw this morning an interview that Macho Man did, where he was like, on the Jesse Ventura stuff that came out about him being anti-union.
Yeah.
But the Macho Man was talking about how he disrespected him on the radio, talking about his family and all that, instead of confronting him man to man. So a lot of that goes into it too. That's I think where Be a Man came in. Be a Man, Hogan. So yeah, that all doesn't look good on Hogan, but I think to boo him out of the building, he's number one on the Mount Rushmore.
Where I felt really bad though is like, and Cornette talked about this on a show a few weeks ago. Is like Jimmy Hart was behind him, and like everybody loves Jimmy Hart. Like everybody loves Jimmy Hart. Like he is like probably one of the nicest people that's ever worked backstage. And so they were like, and that's what sucked is that like he's an icon. Like you can't just really dislike him, and like he sort of lost that moment too. And so that's actually who I feel bad for in that moment, is like this was an opportunity for him too. Like, I mean, he's Hulk's eternal sidekick, right? Like, and so I feel like he sort of got wrapped up in that, which I didn't think was fair. I was actually kind of sad.
I guess what I'm saying is you may dislike Terry Bollea, but we're talking about Hulk Hogan here.
Right.
If that makes any sense at all. Like,
like if they had the opportunity to meet him, and this always thing that kills me is like if they ever had the opportunity to meet him in person, if they were ever walking down the street and he walked by them, they wouldn't stop and ask for a picture.
Of course.
Like that's the thing. That's something I love about all of these. Is like, oh, I hate that guy. But if you ran to him at the Hamilton Mall, you'd be like, oh, I got a picture with Hulk Hogan. Like,
well, that's because he'd be the only other human there.
Yeah.
Heyo.
The Hamilton Mall is I happened to be there earlier today to return to my wife at Macy's. That place is
dead.
It is, and it's upsettingly dead.
Yes.
Like, oh my god!
So
like I feel like that happened in my childhood. Like the world I grew up in is no longer around.
No.
That's funny.
Me and the wife were there on Sunday, and we were taking my daughter to Claire's. So Claire's is like upstairs, right after the food court. Yeah. So you walk down a little bit where I think where Aeropostale or American Eagle used to be, whatever. Like you do a 360. The only storefront that you see is Claire's.
Yeah, and
that mall used to be thriving, man. It's very sad that.
Did you? I bet you had no trouble finding a parking spot. I'll tell you that. Joe, I think you're muted.
You're right. Sorry. Last time we were there, we took our daughter there to get a picture with the Easter Bunny.
Yeah.
And he was so hot, he didn't move. They had a fan blowing on him, like right behind him. And like my daughter sat in his lap, and he just didn't move. Like, he just didn't move. I was like, this is the most depressing thing I've ever seen in my entire life.
Jeez. But listen, just take the topic off of this a little bit. I think we ran this down. The NXT and TNA stuff.
Yeah, it's been great.
I'm having listen. When I saw Moose come out to the ring in NXT, I literally lost my marbles. That was one guy I didn't think had a shot to come over, and when he pulled up to Obafemi, I was like, "Oh, they're really doing something here."
And I know Tim earlier mentioned Ricky Starks. I forget what his new name is, but
Ricky Saints.
When I saw him, Lou, when we saw him at AEW, I thought he was great. I mean, this was a few years ago now. He had just won, I forget what the one-off.
The Owen Hart Cup.
Owen Hart Cup or whatever. But he was fantastic. He was really good on the mic. I know we got hurt, and then they just sort of forgot about him. But I don't watch a lot of NXT, but I did see that, and he wasn't on the market for long, man. They released him and they picked him up really quick. Yeah, so I was happy to see him back out there too.
So here's my thing, right? I mean, look, I think that the the TNA NXT partnership is doing much more for TNA than the AEW one ever did.
Sure.
I would be curious as to, like, would WWE ever just buy TNA and have it run as TNA? Like, almost give it the financial stability it needs and make it another brand that they can always pull from. I mean, like, you can blow up your own Forbidden Doors.
Yeah.
You can't do it right now, right? Like, that's the thing about what I like. I don't watch NXT every week. Like, I'm the first person to tell you that. Like, I'll keep an eye on. It's on my auto DVR. But like, when they send main roster people there, like, it almost like, it's the analogy I'm looking for here. It's almost like opening a pack of baseball cards. You don't know what's going to be in there. Like, it's like, here's a bunch of random guys. Like, oh, here's a superstar. It's like when you watch NXT, like, people show up that you don't respect. Oh, what's this person doing here? Like, it actually keeps it fresh and interesting because, like, they shouldn't be here. Why are they here? Right. And it's like, I like the, I don't use the word unpredictability of that, but I feel as though it makes it appointment television.
Yeah.
Versus it not being appointment television, if that makes any sense. And Dan talking about that's up to Anthem what their intentions are. Maybe that's the case, right? But like, you know, I mean, WWE's doing stuff with Evolve now. They're doing like almost like an AEW dark version of that called the NXT, like, you know, Evolve, whatever. Right. So like, they're branching out the way I think that they should. It's, if you control the flow, you're better off. And I've said this a million times, and I'm going to say it again. AEW is great for WWE. It is a retirement home and a feeder system.
Sure.
Because because again, Ricky Starks showing up on NXT means nothing if Ricky Starks wasn't in somewhere else.
Right.
Like, it's never going to be WCW again. Like, as much as we want it to be, it's never going to be like that again. It's a different time in the world. But these guys are establishing themselves elsewhere, and then they're not super known, but they're more known in the NXT audience than they would be to a Raw audience.
Right.
Like, I was hoping Britt Baker would show up at the Rumble.
Yeah, that would have been insane. Because
I feel like some of these early AEW guys, like, they own their stuff. They own their music. They own their likeness. Like, it's not like Ricky Starks had to change his name. Maybe he did or he didn't, but he did. Like, Britt Baker can show up as Britt Baker, and people, I think, know who Britt Baker is.
Yeah.
You know, maybe they don't. I mean, at NXT, they definitely know who Britt Baker is because that's a similar crowd. It's not mainstream to the same degree as Raw and SmackDown are. But like, that's the sort of thing where it's interesting. Like, that's where you're going to see. That's why Shawn Spears came back there, right? That's why Ethan Page showed up there. Like, that's where, like, that's that crossover audience that the more hardcore wrestling fan watches NXT versus watching Raw and SmackDown.
Right. And you make a name for yourself in NXT to then go to the main roster.
Yeah, I mean, if you're Triple H, you're just like sitting back waiting for the house of cards to sort of fall over, so you can sort of pick the scraps. It's like a business that's going at, like, it's like a business that's struggling. You just take the pieces as they sort of fall, and you're getting them for a lot cheaper than you would have if you had bought early. And I think what I really like about the sending the main roster people down is I feel like it elevates and it forces these other people to, I mean, you're going to learn just by working with these people. Iron sharpens iron, right? You're going to learn. I think it helps them elevate their game because some of these main roster people can do this in their sleep. I mean, they're so good. And like you said, like, I don't watch the NXT. I'll probably catch it once or twice a month, but at least once a show, I'm like, oh, wow, that's pretty cool. You know, and you get the vibe with the small venue that it works. But no, I think it's exactly how I see it. It's just, it's a feeder system in a retirement home. That's a really good way of putting it.
Yeah. Plus the name recognition of a Bayley going down there and wrestling with whoever, you get that, you know, now again, you have the name of Bayley. Whoa, who's she wrestling? Who is this Roxanne Perez? All of a sudden, Roxy is the Iron Woman and into the Elimination Chamber. You know what I mean? So
it's kind of like when the Yankees trade a prospect somewhere and then sign him years later.
Yeah, sure.
Because they'll just buy whatever they want. Like, they intern somewhere else. Now we're going to go play for real now. You know. Yeah,
no, it's and once again, I don't consider myself to be a wrestling dork. Like the NXT transition is great because, like you said, the NXT fans they're more wrestling dorks. I mean, they are watching 8 hours of wrestling a week. I don't have that kind of time, right? So like, it's a great transition for these folks to introduce them there because they'll get the pop there, and then I'm more likely to go, oh, I saw this guy came in, he got a pretty big pop. Maybe I should, and I'll go on YouTube and I'll, you know, watch some stuff like it. And now I'm not necessarily super plugged in, but I'm plugged in enough that when that guy does come to the main roster, I'm going, okay, I know who this guy is.
No, this is AEW is the retirement home. That's the retirement home angle of it.
Yes.
Cold-blooded, man.
They're going after Joe tonight.
Santino showed up too with his whole theme and everything. That was
the
cool.
Hardys. How about that? Let the Hardys. I mean, like
Hardys.
Why not?
Yeah, I lost it when the Fandango music hit a few weeks ago.
Fandango just came out.
I loved it. Like that music hit, like I was all about it because I've always been like, there's always guys that you watch the sport enough. Like there's people you have affinity for who never quite get there.
Yeah.
But like you're like, there was something about that guy that I liked, and I've always had like I loved Fandango. Like that was really cool to see that. And
they had the NXT pay-per-view, I think it was a UFC arena, Lou.
At the whatever it is, yeah.
Apex, right?
The Apex, yeah.
And when Dana Brooke came out, and is that Dana? No, it's Ash by Elegance, right? It's just kind of funny how they do this. I'm always like, I wonder if Dolph Ziggler is going to be Nick Nemeth or is he going to be Dolph Ziggler? Like, how are you going to the Fandango? I'm whatever it was, JD, JF, whatever he called himself, Johnny Dang, whatever.
JD, I think JDC, I think is.
Yeah, I don't know. But my point is that like it's great how they did it.
Yeah,
because here's who it is. Here's who you know. Here's who he is now. And it really does elevate them too. I would like to think, and I think Dan brought this up, that like you're seeing more interest in the TNA product because you're seeing people come through from WWE that elevates them. But having said all that, I mean, Jordan Grace just jumped ship.
Yeah.
Right. So again, it just depends. If you're on a TNA standpoint, is, we appreciate the fact that like you're legitimizing us. What's going to happen is like anything else. People may want to just jump ship too. But that's the major leagues. Like you can't even be mad, right? Like it's like,
yeah,
WWE
at the end of the day. I don't know if you remember Alex Colon, Brian. You remember Alex Colon? So yeah. he's still doing the indie thing. He's he's a hardcore wrestler now for GCW. He travels. He's still doing it. And he's in our age bracket, of course. And he says that, WWE forever will be where you want to go. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You want to go to WWE. So if TNA could be the feeder system B, that's what it's going to have to be. But
that could be super profitable.
Right. Yes.
Right. Like ECW was funded by WWE. Why? Well, clearly because it was a feeder system. You're making guys.
Yeah.
And if WWE can help TNA make guys in the WWE mold, it's going to help both companies. And they can make it work. Like they can still send people there. We'll see if you get any main roster people doing it. But like, what do they care?
Right. And the biggest thing with like what you see in the I worked in Minor League Baseball for a while. It's like you invest so guys fit the mold, right? But like there's that, right? So you top down, this is how we're viewing the business, and this is the way we're cutting promos, and this is the way we're building the show, right? But it's also a really cheap way. It gives you another really cheap way to develop people. Like when I worked in Minor League Baseball, it was, I asked the GM of the team of the Major League Baseball team that I worked for, was like, what's one thing you wish the fans would know? He goes, I build out a 25-man roster because I know I've got three major prospects. It's a really cheap way to weed people out and confer. So like, I just think it's a smart business move. And as people make the jump, they're familiar already. Like it's just, WWE's got so much money. They've won the wrestling wars right now. Like it's just, they can do no wrong. And if they've got a cheap way to sort of build a feeder system, and they can, what's a few TNA dollars to them at the end of the day.
Right? Again, the ID thing they're doing now, which I think is the base for Evolve. Could they be doing more things? Could they do like regional NXTs? Then they started doing that, and then it kind of fell apart with UK. But that was under the Vince days. So who knows? I mean, if you're trying to establish and grow, I mean, you have the financial backing. So
sure,
yeah. And like I said, 2 hours have gone by,
like that.
Doesn't feel like 2 hours. That doesn't.
No,
it was fun.
Not at all. Joe, thanks for coming on the show. We'll extend future invitations as long as you have time in your busy day.
Pleasure. Thank you.
I mean, we'll try to make sure that we'll do them when you have free time, like during the NFL playoffs. That's probably a time when you probably have a lot of free time. So do I. It's okay. I can make that joke.
Me too.
Yankees or Mets, Joe? Oh, Phillies, right?
Yeah, I got a weird. I got half Philly, half Garden State. affiliations. So
Okay.
I'm a Sixers fan too. I'm a glutton for punishment right now, man. This is
That's
just
fine.
not a great time in my life. This is just like
Your sports
Yeah.
life.
I'm going, but you know what? The good thing is that it gives me more time. It's such bad. I'm not even watching them anymore. Like my wife's very happy.
Yeah.
We're catching up on
I-
all the TV shows we didn't get to watch.
Yeah, Paul George said he's taking time off the podcast to focus on winning a title in Philadelphia. I'm like, yeah.
Missing games with that finger.
I didn't know he was going to spring training. I had no idea. I mean, I don't know where that came from. Maybe he's going to be an Eagles tight end. I have no idea. I sure thought I was on the basketball team.
Yeah,
Although,
and Lou, I did know we were going to get an Alex Cologne reference tonight. It's been a long time since I've heard that name, but I had no idea what he was up to. So that's good to know too.
Alex Cologne. We just went to see him maybe like 2 months ago. He was on his way. I think he said he was going back to Japan or he was going to Germany, something like that. But yeah, he's still doing his thing, man. He is. Look him up on YouTube, supposedly, from what I understand.
Dude, I've got it up. As soon as we're off, man, I'm gonna watch a few of these.
He is one of the kings of hardcore wrestling right now. I mean,
that's
listen,
awesome.
He takes those light tubes, they wrap them up like 10 at a time, like swords. Bang, and yeah, he's among the greats in the hardcore wrestling community.
Yeah,
right
as soon as
now.
we're off, I've already got the YouTube channel up. I'm gonna watch.
Yes.
Well, I don't want to. I'm going to give Joe a good hour to watch that. So we'll wrap up here, guys. Enjoy Elimination Chamber. I am positive we will be doing something between Chamber and Mania because
absolutely
we would be malpractice if we didn't. I'm sure that Brian Dunn will be back. I'm sure that Mike and Salvi will need at least a half an hour to get out of fatherhood and changing diapers and crying for a little bit. I'm sure Ant will get on. I think Brian has us live somewhere. I don't know. The parts unknown. No idea. But thank you for watching. Keep tabs with us. We'll make sure we'll let you know when the next show is. And let's go CM Punk. I have no bias in this at all. That's just my general, Woo! Ending to the show every time. All right, see you guys.